As we know, as you all know, if you follow Alix Earle, homegirl just graduated from University of Miami this past weekend.
She had her after party at 11, which honestly, the American dream.
Absolutely.
Like, so fun.
I would do the same thing.
Same.
But obviously all of her family and friends were there to celebrate. Well, I mean, that's obviously, most parents don't go to strip clubs.
I know. So her family was at 11, correct?
They were.
Okay.
They were. They were out and about till 4 a.m., whatever time she was out until. And all of a sudden you see her friends posting on Instagram, like on their Instagram story. And who's in the background?
Braxton.
No one other than scrawny little... he's not scrawny.
Like, I'm like, he blatantly is like ripped. He's a professional athlete. Like,
I was going to say scummy, but I was like, be nice, Abby.
Scrawny.
So I said scrawny, but he's not. Braxton was in the background holding up a cardboard cutout of Alix. And
so it just confirms that they are definitely more serious. That, like, I think in the beginning, people were like, what's the big deal? He's a professional athlete. She's an icon. Like, he recently got traded to the Dolphins. Obviously, they're gonna, like, meet each other. They're both attractive people. Like, who cares? They're just, like, hanging out. They're partying. But the fact that he was at her college graduation party with her whole family, like, holding up a cardboard cutout of her.
You
like,
don't do that with someone you're just...
No. There's definitely, like, they're together. And I know she's been like, I want a single summer with my girls. I just don't know if I am getting that vibe. And maybe she's, like, trying to hide it a little bit because obviously her whole, like, party girl image, like, kind of new age.
It's
Paris
like call
Hilton.
her daddy. It's like when Alex Cooper was starting to turn away from, like, the raunchiness of what Call Her Daddy used to be and, like, turned a new leaf into this whole new
was, like,
era.
scared to tell us.
She was afraid to be like, oh my God, guys, I have a boyfriend. I'm not, like, playing the field. I don't have, like, 10 people on my roster anymore. Like, Alex Cooper was terrified for that new chapter. And so I feel like maybe Alex is afraid to admit to us that, like, no, I actually might have feelings for this guy. We might be more than a thing. Like, I feel like she wants to withhold this reputation as long as she can because, like, she really hasn't been famous that long. Like, this is still very new.
It's new. I agree with you. And I think it's very difficult because when you get that level of fame that quickly, I mean, she was, like, doing well on social media, don't get me wrong, before.
She's not growing, though.
She had hundreds of thousands of followers, like, at least 100,000 followers on TikTok. Like, she was, like, doing decent when she was in her relationship, and she had the whole cute, like, oh, we're this cute couple, we're fun, like, we're attractive vibe. But we all know, like, the signature moment when Alix blew up is when her and the boyfriend broke up, and she posted that video, the iconic live, talking about the breakup, being like, I will only divulge my secrets on Call Her Daddy, which still think it was a little bit of a miss for Alix Cooper not to bring her on, but whatever. That's the moment that, like, changed everything. And then she shot up, grew a bunch of followers, and had this whole, like, single girl, senior at UMiami, going out with my friends. We're all fun. We're all hot. We're all, like, going to pool parties. We're partying. And, like, we live in this, you know, house with cockroaches, and our rooms are a mess, and our lives are a mess. But we look good on the outside, but we're a mess. And it's like, yeah, it was very reminiscent of the old school Call Her Daddy that I fell in love with, of, like, the whole, like, two broke girls living in New York City who can barely afford, like, furniture in their apartment, but they're, like, kind of famous. Like, that was the vibe. And I missed that. So I think you're right, where I'm sure she's like, okay, if I settle down into a relationship, like, I lose my whole fan base that followed me for being this, like, fun, single, like, just graduated college type girl. I think it's probably a little delicate.
And and it's like, not only is she, like, maybe getting more serious with someone, like, I mean, they haven't been talking that long. Like, I think it'd be weird to assume that they're boyfriend and girlfriend, but I do think they're more serious than they think. But I think because she's graduating college right now and that chapter is closing, having a new relationship at that same time, I feel like would be way too overwhelming with her, because she'd be losing her college girl reputation and her single girl reputation all at once, and that would not be good, because she's been sitting at 5.3 million followers on TikTok for a while now. And I'm not saying she's plateauing, but, like, I think her real 15 minutes of fame is over. I think
she has to figure out what she's going to do next.
Yeah. Like, how are you going to grow? What are you going to do now? Because I'm sure she has things in the works that we don't know about. I'm sure of that. But, like, what are you doing with your life now? Yeah,
that's a good point. And I'm sure her PR team is very focused on, like, all right, like, what do we capitalize on so that this isn't like a 15 minutes of fame? Because you're right, like, I think the college graduation was big, because it's like you're now losing out on the whole fan base of like, oh, like I go to Miami too, or I'm someone that's interested in going there, and like that's gonna go away. It reminds me of Kate Bartlett. I don't know if you follow her.
I know of her.
Based in New York City, and her whole thing was, I am this college student who, you know, goes to college in New York City. She went to fashion school, and really how she grew was, I want to say like 2 years ago is when she really had her like big come up. She made a lot of videos about like how to, you know, what I spend in a day in New York City as a fashion student, how to budget in New York City. And her whole vibe is that she didn't like come from crazy money or anything. She lived in a very like normal apartment with her friends, but she would always be like attending these really fun, glamorous parties, going to fashion week, like doing all this stuff because she worked in fashion. But she would always do everything on a budget, and she'd be like, all right, I rented this dress. I only paid $50 for it. I thrifted these shoes, but like, she would give all this advice, and everything she always did looked so cool, so glamorous. And she really blew up, and she got to like 1.2 million followers on TikTok. But then she graduated. And now it's like she's a full-time fashion influencer, which is still cool. And she still goes to, you know, the fashion week, and she still goes to Milan and does all these cool things, and people still love her. But I'm not kidding. I'm pretty sure she has been sitting at 1.2 million followers for a year now, maybe a year and a half.
Yikes.
Because it's like that whole clientele, like the reason why people followed her was because of these like, you know, how to budget in New York City as like a normal girl. But now she doesn't need to budget because she has a ton of money and she made it, and
the relatability's gone.
And she literally made a video about it. I actually like respected her doing this, where she was like, am I gonna lie to you guys and pretend like I still need to make the like how to budget in New York City videos? Like I don't budget that way anymore, so I'm not gonna make those videos anymore. It's like I'm a different person now. I'm not gonna lie about who I am. But all those people followed her because of that. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it's like, what do you do? And I do think a lot of influencers hit that weird moment where they're like, okay, my relatability is going away because I'm getting too big. Do I pretend to be the same as I always have, which I think Alex Cooper did for a while and Alix Earle is currently doing? Or do I pivot and risk losing all my initial fans? And I think the hope is that you have people that love you for who you are and they don't care like what type of content you're putting out long term. But I think, you know, that's why people like, I don't know, Addison Rae and stuff like tried getting into, you know, acting, and like you try to just find something else because you know that the social media is only going to take you so far.
Yeah.
I don't know, but
we'll see where that ends up. I think it's definitely too soon to tell, but the real thing that angered us was, and this didn't anger us, but it's honestly just the situation. Our girl Sophia Coppola,
we're torn.
We love her. We hate to see this. I don't like what she did, but she posted for Mother's Day on her Instagram story an ode to her mom and made it about her breakup. Obviously, she had a couple slides in there that were just to her mom, but there was this one slide in particular where I screenshotted it, I sent it to Shannen, I was like, what the fuck is this? She said, to the most loving mom, always thinking about her family and friends before herself, only happy if we're happy. With a text screenshot from their family group chat with her mom saying, Sophie looks beautiful. I'm so happy. We FaceTimed. And then at the bottom of that, Sophia writes, this was a few weeks ago. I think my mom went through this breakup with me. It may have been harder on her, TBH. Unconditional mom love. So grateful for her.
Yeah. I was honestly more confused about the post than anything because I couldn't really, like, her mom just saying Sophie looks so happy. I didn't get how that was about the breakup, but I think maybe it was the context of like, oh, like she looks so happy and like beautiful because she's so happy. And maybe it was in the context of the breakup. We didn't see the rest of the exchange, but I was more confused where I was like, what, how does that have anything to do with her breakup?
Exactly. I think the post was weird. I think the context was lacking, which makes us confused. But the fact that she had to like bring up her breakup,
I know,
on Mother's Day, make it about her breakup. I get where she was coming from. I honestly do. But like, I'm always one to never want to show when you're down. Like, I get it. This breakup sucks. Everyone goes through breakups. We hate Braxton. We're all team Sophia. We're team fuck Braxton. But like, you don't need to show him that you're down.
I know.
You don't need to show him that your family's down about it.
Ugh,
it was so weird, so cringy. I wanted her to delete it. I
know it is hard though, because like my heart goes out for her so much because we've all been there where you're just so heartbroken and crushed that you can't help. I remember when Michael and I were not together and It's like 4 or 5 years ago now. And I remember just like, I couldn't help but just like bring him up constantly. Like, we'd be talking about like the weather and I was like, oh, like, I remember when Michael, like just, it was pathetic, right? Like I was being pathetic. And all I could do was obsess and obsess and obsess and like recount and be like, well, mom, when he said this, like, do you think he actually meant that? And when we, you know, he liked my message, do you think that like that means that deep down he's still in love with me? And my mom was like, what? Like, but she was so patient and like literally stuck with me for, I'm talking like months and months and months of me like lamenting and obsessing and obsessing.
But you would never
And I do understand where Sophia's coming from, where like there is nothing like the unconditional love of like a mom who puts up with, because eventually your friends are gonna be like, bitch, shut up, like stop talking about him. But my mom never did that. Like she was happy to sit there and dissect every interaction with me and never told me to shut up or get over it. And I do get where Sophia was coming in her post. But I do agree, like, it's like, don't let him see that. Don't let him see.
And it was the day after. I'm not kidding. The night before she posted that, Braxton was in the club with Alix and her family.
It's like he's
celebrating a major milestone in Alix's life. Like, I'm not kidding. She wakes up and she posts that. Meanwhile, he's probably just going to bed.
Yeah, he is like with his 21-year-old blonde, like, girlfriend. They're always blonde. Blonde girlfriend. At the club at 11 with her whole family, like partying the night away, and then Sophia is posting that the next day. It was sad. It was sad. I do think that like there is the whole side of it to argue where, so for a very long time, she didn't post anything about the breakup, right? Like it was I remember I was wondering, I was like, did they break up? Are they still together? Like he still had a post up about her from December. Hers were deleted. I was confused. And I do think that when she first opened up a little bit, she got a lot of people who were very much like, I'm going through this too. Thank you for sharing your journey. So I do think you have a responsibility in a sense, maybe not a responsibility, because I think you have the right to your privacy, but I respect when people that are somewhat in the public eye can be honest and be like, I'm going through this too. It sucks and like it's normal. Because the rest of us normal people can see that and be like, all right, like that makes me feel a little bit better. Like, you know, Sophia's going through this and she's, you know, a freaking Culpo and she has a TV show. Like, I'll be okay. But I do agree that like the Mother's Day post was a little bit like, it just gave off the vibe that she still cares so much.
Oh, so much.
And I remember,
I don't blame her.
This is something that Alex Cooper always used to say. And it's like super toxic, but like whatever. Like that was their vibe. They were like, we don't care if we're toxic, we're right. And she always said, the person with the most power in the relationship is the one who cares less.
Yep.
And that is true. I don't care if
really
you've been with a guy for 6 months or 6 years, or if you are 80 years old, like the person who cares less is the one that holds the power. And I don't make the rules. And trust me, it's toxic and messed up. And I wish that wasn't the case, but it's true. Like find me one couple where that isn't the case. Like you care less, you hold the power, because then the other person is pining after you. Like that is just how it is. So her posting
is just proof.
Like I do think that like her posting, and we'll get to this in a second, like some of her other posts I do think were really good and helpful, but I think to constantly bring it up on social media, like in his mind, he's not going to be sitting there being like, oh, I guess I miss her too. He's like, oh, she's still like obsessed with me. She's still pining over me. Like
that's feeding his ego.
It's gonna feed him more and make him like less. Like in his mind, he's like, oh, she's still so hung up on me. Like, and that almost like pushed him away more. Not saying she wants him back, by the way. So I guess what I'm saying is probably super toxic.
But it definitely applies in other relationships.
It does. Sure. It's just the rules. And I don't make the rules. And I'm not saying we should even do anything with them or that like, we should all go out there and be like heartless bitches. I'm just saying like, you're talking to a guy, like it's hard. Like every ounce of your body wants to text him, confessing your feelings to him and like saying all this shit. But like, you might regret it if you
write it down and rip it up.
Yes, like if you put all your cards on the table and he knows exactly how you feel, like he now holds all the power, and like it's really, really hard to get it back.
Okay, so are you officially a believer that he may or may not have cheated and or left Sophia for Alix?
I don't know. I like don't want to believe it because I really don't love Alix. He might have cheated on.
This isn't even anything to do with Alix though. This is just Braxton.
True.
I'm not asking, do you think she's a homewrecker? Do you think Braxton either cheated on her or left her for Alix?
Okay, maybe I think he might have left her for Alix. I might think that. I just don't know if I see Alix being the girl that's like the side girl sneakily like creeping in the shadows, but like I could maybe see him being like, I met Alix.
But she could
I
have
fell
not
in love
known.
with her, and I'm suffering from this like quarter life crisis, and I just need to like get out of this relationship. I'm not ready for commitment. I'm just gonna go with this 21-year-old who obviously isn't ready for any of that.
I wonder if Sophia is being a little bit vague, because obviously like in last week's episode I mentioned the exact post that Sophia made saying like there was like trust broken, dishonesty, all that stuff. But I wonder if she's being quiet. She probably just has class, but a piece of me is like, is she just gatekeeping this for the next step, the next season?
I know. That's what I'm wondering. Okay, so for those of you that don't know, so before the whole Mother's Day post, because we were wondering for like months and months, we were like, are they together? Did they break up? And she finally did come forward. And she made a series of posts, and she was like doing like get ready with me's and stuff. But she was kind of just like speaking on what happened. And she was like, thank you guys for your support. Obviously, I feel a lot more comfortable talking about this stuff because you guys said you're going through it too, etc. But she was just talking about how, she went through this really, she kind of described it as like a tumultuous breakup. And she said it did not end well. And she was talking about how like during the same time, her dad kind of got something happened to him, like health wise. So she was like, it was just a really horrible moment. And it was really beautiful the way that she describes it though, is she was like, what happened was I was moving out of my ex's place the same day that I knew my sister was going to be getting proposed to. Like I was like moving out of his place. And I was like, knew that day.
Wait, but that just happened.
That's like, maybe she meant like she was going to pack up the rest of her things. No, like I think they'd already been broken up. But she said I was like going to get my things.
Yeah.
The day that my sister was going to be proposed to. And she knew that like Olivia and Christian were getting engaged that day.
That sucks.
And she was like, I was so terrified that I wouldn't be able to be happy for my sister because I would just be so upset and like down and almost like resentful, like jealous that I didn't have that and that this chapter of my life was ending. Because obviously she didn't want the breakup to happen. She was like very much loved Braxton. So, but then she said, she was like, it was funny though, because what actually ended up happening was the only thing that got me through that experience was how happy I was for my sister. And she was like, I was almost so surprised by like how genuinely just happy I was. Like I wasn't jealous or resentful or like down or like making it about me. I really, she's like, I didn't want it to be made about me. And it wasn't, because I was just so overwhelmed with joy for her. And she was like, and I think part of it is because kind of in a funny way, Olivia went through a very similar experience to what I just went through a few years ago. And obviously we all know that like, Olivia Culpo dated Amendola, and he cheated on her, multiple times. And one of them was very publicly. And it was this whole public-eyed situation. She was very upset, like humiliated. It took her a really long time to get over that before she met Christian. But she was like, Olivia went through this whole experience, and I watched this happen. I watched this happen to this person I look up to so much, and it was so sad. But everything that happened to her, she was like, it was almost poetic. Like she came back stronger from that. Like she rebuilt herself. She spent time with her loved ones. She healed herself. She focused on herself. She focused on being the best possible person she could be. And then she met Christian, and he's just like this amazing, like kind, gentle, loyal human. And she's so happy and she's so in love. And she was like, I almost felt like it was kind of poetic the way that like I was packing up my stuff like out of my ex's place, like officially like turning the page on that chapter of my life. And then seeing my sister get engaged to this amazing man. And like, she's like, and it gave me hope in a weird way where I was like, all right, I'm going through this horrible thing right now, but maybe it is setting me up for something amazing that's going to happen. And maybe if I can just like think of like what I learned from this experience and like heal myself and be around people that I love, like maybe I'm going to find that someday too. And I feel like the way that she described it was like so mature, and I really like respected what she said.
Was that on her Instagram story?
Yeah.
Like a video or a written post?
It was a video where
she
it was like she was like doing a kind of a get ready with me while she was kind of opening up about she's posted a few things about it like recently, because for a while she was very silent. But I almost thought that was like a really good takeaway, because I think a lot of us, when you go through a breakup, it's hard to look at things positively. Like, obviously it's like I hate him, or you're still obsessed with him and you can't sleep and you can't eat, and it's a horrible feeling. But I do think that like kind of knowing like, all right, there is a light at the end of the tunnel, and hopefully I can look back at this experience and think like, what did it teach me? And like, is it going to make me a stronger person in the long run?